Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to unpack a really powerful strategic framework. It's what separates the companies that truly last from the ones that just, have their 15 minutes of fame. And the secret? Well, it's all about winning a war on two fronts.
So let's just dive right in with a question that I think puzzles a lot of people in business. Why is it that companies at the absolute peak of their game suddenly just fall apart? Why does spectacular success so often seem to be the prequel to an equally spectacular collapse?
Well, the answer lies in this simple but really powerful metaphor. Winning out there in the marketplace, that's your kingdom abroad, and that's great, but it is incredibly fragile if you haven't built an unbreachable fortress back at home base. That external win means almost nothing without rock-solid internal stability.
Okay, so here's the crucial point, right? Lasting success isn't about winning a single battle. It's about fighting and winning a war on two completely separate but deeply connected fronts, the external market and the internal organization.
So what does that mean for a leader today? Well, you kind of have to be two people at once. You have to be this brilliant general, outmaneuvering all your competitors in the chaos of the marketplace. But at the exact same time, you have to be a pragmatic prince, building unshakable power, control, and loyalty within the walls of your own company.
And to really get our heads around these two different worlds, we can actually map them onto the wisdom of two absolute legends of strategy. For the external market, we're going to look to Sun Tzu, the master of positioning and winning cleverly. And for the internal office, we turn to Machiavelli, the undisputed master of power, psychology, and control.
And wow, this visual just nails the difference, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the market, chaotic, unpredictable, just a mess of forces. And on the right, you have the organization, a single powerful chess piece, controlled, deliberate, and stable. To win big, you have to master both of these worlds.
All right, so let's tackle that first front. We'll start with Sun Tzu's playbook for conquering the external market.
Sun Tzu's core tactics are just so elegant and powerful. First off, don't just play the game. You change the entire board to favor your unique strengths. You use speed not just to be fast, but as a weapon that makes your rivals' plans totally obsolete before they even get off the ground. You use deception, a little bit of secrecy to keep them guessing. And finally, the ultimate goal. You position yourself so brilliantly that you make the competition completely irrelevant. And this leads us to, honestly, one of the coolest concepts here, winning without fighting. This isn't about crushing your opponent in some brutal head-to-head battle. No. This is the true pinnacle of strategy. It's where your market position is so superior, your product so essential, that anyone who might compete just doesn't. They look at the board and realize you've already won. But like we said, a victory out in the market, man, it's fragile. It can be totally undone by internal politics, a loss of focus, or a weak company culture. And that brings us to the second front, securing your fortress with the very pragmatic playbook of Machiavelli.
And once you're inside those walls, the rules are completely different. Leadership isn't about getting everyone to agree. It's about bold, decisive action. It is much better to be respected, even a little bit feared, for high standards than to be liked for being easygoing. Your goal is to make your organization and yourself absolutely indispensable. And all the while, you project this image of virtue, even when you're making the really tough, pragmatic calls behind the scenes. The key concept here, and this is absolutely critical, is the strategy of creating dependence. This is the bedrock of internal power. It means building systems and a culture and a value proposition so strong that everyone, employees, customers, partners, relies on you. When you are the linchpin, your position is secure.
So, you might be thinking, okay, Sun Tzu, Machiavelli, this sounds like ancient history, right? Nope, not at all. It is happening right now, every single day. So how do these ideas actually play out in the modern world? Let's look at three titans of industry who are absolute masters of this dual-front war. First up, let's talk about Amazon, a company that is pretty much a perfect case study of this combined framework in action.
I mean, just look at this. Externally, with Amazon Web Services, they didn't just compete in a market, they literally created a whole new one. They changed the terrain and won without fighting. Internally, Jeff Bezos' famous Day One philosophy, that is pure Machiavelli. It's a tool for enforcing relentless discipline and crazy high standards, making sure the organization never ever gets complacent.
All right, next up, Apple.
arguably the world's greatest master of control, both on the inside and the out.
So what's Apple's Sun Tzu move? It's that legendary secrecy, right? It's a form of strategic deception that makes sure every single product launch is a massive, disruptive event that catches competitors totally flat-footed. And their Machiavellian genius? The ecosystem. It creates such a deep dependence, both practical and psychological, that leaving it becomes almost unthinkable for users. They've built the ultimate fortress. And for our final case study, let's break down Microsoft's incredible strategic evolution through this very same lens.
And Microsoft's story here is it's fascinating. Their classic Machiavellian move was the old embrace, extend, extinguish strategy, a ruthless way to create dependence and control the entire market. But more recently, their cloud-first pivot is a brilliant Sun Tzu maneuver. They totally changed the terrain, sidestepping the decline of the PC, and turned old rivals into new partners on their Azure platform.
So, okay, we've looked at the theory, we've looked at the modern titans who are using it. What's the big takeaway from all this? What does it actually mean for you?
Well, it all comes down to this combined framework. You can't just have one or the other. True lasting power comes from balancing Sun Tzu's external, disruptive aggression with Machiavelli's internal, stabilizing pragmatism. You have to dominate the market and secure the organization.
And it's so important to remember this. This isn't about a checklist or some rigid plan you can just follow. Ultimately, it's about developing a new way of seeing the world, of understanding the two fronts that are always in play.
And that leaves us with one final crucial question for you to think about. In your own world, in your career, are you just a piece on the board being moved around by these powerful forces? Or will you learn to see both fronts and become the hand that moves the pieces?